The Swedish experience without a doubt went by in a flash, but luckily left the group with a wide array of cultural experiences. Upon arrival, our group represented a mixed set of students from both labor-employment relations and health policy and administration. Prior to the trip, we had been exposed to a variety of Swedish cultural expectations through our pre-trip lectures. These lectures covered the history of Swedish institutions, Sweden in a business context, and Swedish work values and practices. Although informative, our knowledge of these dimensions were limited to textbook material, which would soon be confirmed or denied as we immerse ourselves in a journey to three of Sweden's cities, Jönköping, Stockholm, and Gothenburg. Throughout this presentation, I will reflect first on the comparison of my initial expectations to actual experiences during the journey. Then I will focus on what I thought were the most important takeaway concepts during the trip. And lastly, I will describe how this experience has shaped my worldview and will translate into my future endeavors. So to begin, why Sweden? Well, this trip primarily served as an opportunity to compare the intercultural competencies we are familiar with in the United States to those on a global level. Our studies focus specifically in the context of human resource management, which we were fortunate enough to explore through a variety of Swedish organizational visits. Intercultural insight ranged from university department speakers, dinner with university students, lectures from Swedish professors, and visits to Swedish companies including IKEA and Volvo. Our pre-trip lectures taught us the importance and impact that culture has on any organization. While a culture can be defined and segmented in several different ways, its influence on strategy, behavior, and overall processes make any organization unique. A dimensional comparison referred to as cultural individualism versus collectivism represents one of the expectations we had regarding Swedish institutions prior to the trip. This category ties into Sweden's Jante law, which can otherwise be referred to as Jantelagen. This law represents the collective belief that no individual is, quote, special, unquote. In other words, people in Swedish culture are raised to believe that they are an individual, but by means of contribution in society, in which everyone is on an equal playing field, otherwise referred to as collectivism. Furthermore, the Swedish culture defines this law by living through the cultural characteristic of lagom, which simply means moderation and adequacy. These cultural expectations were identified prominently in our Swedish classroom settings. As a group, we agreed there was a particular sense of group learning emphasized in each environment, which differed from the traditional lectures we might receive at an American university. For example, not only had each lecturer showed interest in our previous knowledge of the topic to be covered, they often encouraged us to participate and even correct them if we thought a certain point made was unclear. With regards to HRM, several of the speakers emphasized the importance of collectivism and communication within bargaining agreements between employees and their employers. To give an example, our speaker Roger from Jönköping's School of Education and Communication described how his past employer relationships evolved to the professional career he holds today. Roger explained that as he was about to leave one position of employment for a completely new job, his employer actually congratulated him on his promotion. Rather than following cultural individualism and reacting for losing a very important employee, Roger's employer showed collective excitement for Roger's growth in society. Although it may have been unique to the situation, Roger explained that this aligned with the Swedish cultural belief of Jante law, which promotes individual growth for the betterment of society. From this comparison, we can see that culture plays a role in organizational growth and environmental attitudes. Another dimensional expectation we learned about is referred to as masculinity versus femininity. This is best described as the extent at which aggression and competition is emphasized in a given culture. Traditionally, masculine societies define work as a central life interest and prioritize competition and success in a job position. The United States is best described as following masculine traditions. On the other hand, cultures that lean toward femininity often reward and value social domains, such as those in Sweden. As a group, we were able to tie these dimensions of social value to the Swedish emphasis of work-life balance. To give an example, the HR department at Husqvarna spoke about its company culture and emphasis on employees' work-life balance. Several policies are put into place in many Swedish organizations in order to facilitate more women in the workplace and emphasize the importance of life outside of the workplace. One major difference is the paid paternal leave that fathers in Swedish organizations are given on an annual basis, which are dedicated specifically to family time. In the United States, there is no current federal law that even provides paid maternal leave. This was an interesting comparison. Overall, the Swedish experience provided the group with an incredible opportunity to study life outside of what we've always known. I believe that culture is something one must experience, because reading about its dimensions only does it some justice. Exposure to Swedish culture, through its business, institutions, universities, people, and food, have left me with a new understanding of traditional American customs. I was most moved by Sweden's translation of culture into its workplace morale, which appeared to be more optimistic and efficient. I believe the Jante Law and dimension of cultural collectivism play a large role in these workplace qualities, and I hope to translate these dimensions into my future place of employment. Thank you.